Over the weekend, we were talking about the bigger timeframes, and we were mentioning how IWM and the Dow Jones have seen a decent-sized pullback, while the SPY has continued to defer now from its correlation with the Dow Jones and IWM. So we have to take into consideration both sides, and I think that's important to discuss as we get into the shorter timeframes. We have not crossed over any big macro signals to tell us if there could potentially be a high probability for more downside. So will the SPY continue to move sideways to go up, or will it see some kind of a drop to catch up to IWM or the Dow Jones? Well, that's what we have to figure out today, and I think paying attention to both sides is exactly what we need to do, and then we can look if any of these things are confirming and maybe react this week for a decent trade. Let's get into it. Now, that Saturday video, I think, had some good stuff in it just because we paid attention to those bigger timeframes, and it's always good to have those bigger timeframes in mind to see what the environment is as of right now. And we know that the environment right now is extremely bullish, so it's good to have some levels to the upside and maybe even the downside in case you're going to get an opportunity for a pullback. So we're going to pay attention to some weekly expected moves. We do notice for the SPY 610.40 to the upside for the week, and then we have 598.02 to the downside for the week. Now, this is important to understand. This is a 68% zone. It is not a 100% zone, but when you do move out of it early on in the week, well, you have a 68% chance to come down. If you move out of it early on in the week in the other direction, you have a 68% chance to come up, 32% chance to see something crazy. So what we want to pay attention to with the SPY is first, just what's going on with this? Well, overall, we can see that this is pulling sideways. We can see that we are in some way consolidating sideways, maybe making some potential for reversal signals. We'll have to see how this plays out this week because that 2-hour is trying to go negative. We can see how easily the 2-hour could start to turn down, and the daily is technically saying we need to be pulling back here. So I just want you to be open to this thing being able to pull back, but also open to this being very bullish. And the reason for that, I kind of had some notes over here for the SPY, and we really just wanted to follow the fact that this is a very bullish move. This is a very, very bullish move. So we need to pay attention to any kind of bullish signal that we can find in here. And you will notice as you go into a 30-minute that you do see some forms of potential divergence here for a double bottom. Now, this is not a fantastic signal, right? We talked about potentially even making a grading scale from 1 to 3, 1 being a overall weak reversal signal, but still potential to reverse that trend around. We have the potential for a 2, which would be you're seeing a few of those signals. And then you have a 3, which is you have everything all at the same time, which is the perfect setup to see some kind of bounce. So what we're paying attention to is the fact that we have had these 2 lows, almost the exact same point. We can see that that's almost exactly the same point. And we notice that it's coming down on your MACD and is going up on your RSI. So we do have some contradictory things happening here, which would lead me towards, hey, this is most likely going to be something of a 1 on that scale. But if this does curl up, we need to pay attention to the fact that this is a very bullish trend. So if we're able to see a big move and we actually use the top side daily expected move for some positivity there, we can end up back in that positive trend very quickly. But as these keep shifting down and volatility seems like at least implied volatility for the week has gone down. These are pretty small ranges. For the day, we have a pretty small range. So 606.21 for Monday to the upside for the SPY, 602.21 to the downside for the SPY. And so what we want to really be paying attention to is, are these things actually breaking through key levels to set up a high, a lower high, a low, and then a lower low? As of right now, you don't necessarily have that low that really convinces you that you can go into a downtrend. You're just seeing these things get deep into negative territory, and when they are getting deep into negative territory like this, we usually see some buyers step in. So we'll see what happens with Monday on this. I just want you to be aware of both sides here in stating that if that 2-hour does go negative, the daily is suggesting more of a pullback. So we'll pay attention if this keeps moving sideways or continues to consolidate and get tight before some kind of big move in either direction. Now, the Qs are where it gets extremely interesting, okay? The SPY, yeah, it's kind of like a both ways, moving sideways, could just continue to move sideways to cross back up, right? It's already crossed down saying, hey, it's in pullback mode. So it makes sense why the SPY is seeing a little bit more sideways price action or weakness compared to the Qs, because the Qs haven't even crossed down on this daily MACD. Now, we're going to go into the 2-hour to show you some stuff. First of all, 539.55 to the upside for the Qs weekly expected move, and 521.51 to the downside for the weekly expected move. So 68% zone zone right there, get it on your charts. Now, the opportunity here is really what I wanted to talk about, because we're going to talk about some signals that actually look like a reversal can happen, but this is an extremely bullish market. And I've said this a lot lately where I'm like, this is an extremely bullish thing, and everyone wanted to short things like Tesla, everyone wanted to short the Qs, I get it, but it's very difficult to short these things when they are moving up this aggressively. You have a hard time picking out where that top is. The 30-minute can keep confirming up. So if you just do not know how to manage your risk or manage a trade, you can get really eaten alive by a market like this one, this bullish market. And we notice that the Qs do not have any divergence up here at all. So we were talking about that grading scale from 1 to 3. You can't even put the Qs on that grading scale on the daily chart, on the daily time frame, which means if you do experience something like this, be looking for the opportunity for that to head higher. If we go down to here, be looking for that opportunity to actually head higher to make some kind of reversal signal in this. Momentum will tell you when weakness is there for the daily chart. As of right now, you are more so looking for, if you do pull back, you can see more positivity. Now we are at a monthly expected move, which means 68% chance to land below where we're at right now by the end of the month. So we need to be paying attention. Now, I want to do this kind of backwards just to show you the 2-hour. And then we're going to talk about the daily expected moves on the 30-minute. So give us a break on the daily expected moves for a sec. But I really want to talk about the 2-hour, because the 2-hour on that grading scale would say, hey, yeah, this is divergence that likes to curl down daily charts. And we just noticed that we're looking for more so a daily pullback. So you see how this indicator is pointing straight down. You see how that is confirmed. It has not confirmed back up yet. And we're starting to see us touch the top of the channel and get outside of that monthly expected move. This is what I've been looking for the pullback, right? I kept saying this over and over. I'm looking for the SPY or the Qs to make some kind of divergence outside of the monthly expected move, right? We said that when we saw this 30-minute divergence. I want to see that right over here. And I did that before the price action happened, and now it has set up. So thankfully we were paying attention to that scenario, because it didn't even have to happen, but it is showing up for us. And now we have a 2-hour divergence with these points that has confirmed. So what we want to pay attention to is the fact that this says that we should be pulling down, and that most likely is going to be the case eventually, but the 30-minute has some time here. The 30-minute has not confirmed back down with this divergence, okay? You got a blip on this moment, some interesting behavior here. You went up to a daily expected move, went down to a daily. It was very, very interesting. But we can notice that we pretty much are trying to go fill this gap. So what I'm noticing, though, is the momentum here is pointing in the downward direction. So we're seeing that divergence pop up. But have we confirmed it? No. So technically for Monday, the daily expected moves 533.33 to the upside. We have 527.73 to the downside. Technically, the first one I should be paying attention to is this is a bullish market. This is not confirmed down yet. So there is no confirmation of that divergence. So technically, I should be paying attention to that upside move for Monday and looking if that holds as resistance. And if it's going to cross early on in the day, well, I want to see if that is able to cross down, maybe fill a gap and see some kind of bounce. This is divergence that says the 2-hour is going to curl back down. That is what it is saying if it confirms. And if that 2-hour is not able to confirm the next move higher, then you might have your daily pullback. That's very good to pay attention to, because things like Apple, some big stocks, need those pullbacks to remain healthy. If we keep going in the upward direction, you always get the chance of seeing some kind of black swan waterfall type moment where this thing shoots up directly at some point, and then things start to shoot down directly at some point. So you don't want to be caught in that, because momentum it's very difficult when that happens for momentum to catch those signals. Usually you'll only see like a one divergence on maybe even just a 30-minute or a 2-hour, and then that leads to a bunch of things crossing down. And that's not something you want to be a part of. It is very difficult to trade. So what we want to pay attention to is the fact that these things are high up. And if I just want to be a good trader, and I want to say, hey, I'm a position style trader, I like to take calls or puts a month out, well, then I could sit here and watch everyone lose their minds for a long time, see Apple pull back to something like 236.36, and then that ends up going back in the upward direction because you do not have reversal signals here. So something that would be really, really useful for me as a trader is knowing the exact levels that the options market is pricing in for the week. If I do experience a pullback in that week and we go down to lower levels, well, then I want to be paying attention to where buyers are most likely to step in. That is where weekly expected moves will really help you. That is what we put out on Patreon for stocks like Apple and other stocks that we're going to go over today and more. So join the Patreon. It is a fantastic, very, very, very useful tool. You can come to the live show and ask more about it on Monday in the morning and see if it is something that can really help your trading. I believe it helps every single trading strategy to have it on your chart. And once you're here for a while, if you're new, you're going to realize over time that these levels that we find every single week are very, very good. And we just use the options data to tell us exactly where those levels are at. So Apple, what I really want to be watching here is looking at the 2 hour. It is suggesting that that daily pullback is going to come. Now, this is not the most significant and we're moving sideways. So I have to be open to the fact that, hey, this is still above the 5, and yes, we're crossed down, but we're actually above the 2 hour 9 moving average. So what we want to pay attention to is if that 2 hour can curl up, that would encourage more bullishness to come in, and you're not going to see that pullback just yet. If we go into a 30-minute, you're actually noticing that down here on the 30-minute, we're actually crossing up. Now, we aren't positive yet. I don't believe we were positive yet. No, you're not positive yet, but you easily could be early on tomorrow, right? Early on Monday, all we have to do is see one closing green bar like this, and you are positive, in positive territory. You are seeing this bounce off of the 5, and you can go and see how we really haven't made that series of lower lows, right? Even these in here are slightly higher up. So if you want this to start to go in a downtrend, you probably have to break that low, retest the 5 or breakdown area, and then continue in the downward direction. We have this crossed up and it is trying to go positive. So we will see how this happens in the morning, but we have to be paying attention to positivity because this is a move that is extremely bullish and it is very hard to short stocks that look like this. So maybe the real opportunity is for me to be patient and wait for another bullish move to the upside for January of 2025. Speaking of things hard to short but need a pullback, Tesla just keeps ripping. This is one stock that I was like blatantly saying, yeah, if you're trying to short this, it's going to be a luck thing and only a few people are going to be able to catch it because no one knows when this thing is going to stop. It just keeps going up and up and up. And if you really look at this, you're going, there's only one other time that we saw a move like this, and it was back in 2021, right before we saw some dramatic downside, right? We got kind of a rip around market. So are we about to experience that again? Well, I think we have more time here. At this overall top, you made some lower highs and things like that, some rejections. So if we're going to see things like that, we can pay attention to it. But the opportunity for Tesla might be if I'm just patient and see if that is able to retest that breakout area. That would be a fantastic little pullback to curl up into positive territory. And I'm just talking about the opportunities that could shape up over the next few weeks. This thing is just skyrocketing. What did we just say about the SPY and the Qs, or especially the Qs? We don't want them to do something like this because it invites the opportunity for something like this in the opposite direction, right? You go up really fast, you can go down even faster sometimes. So watch out for Tesla. It is something that's very difficult to short. This position here is by no means should I be taking a bullish position at this high, just making a kind of mental note for myself there. But also on the 2 hour, we're noticing some interesting things from the 2 hour. You notice that from these highs up here, you at least had a divergence up here towards the top of this level to get that pullback down to the 5, but it remains to be very bullish. And you'll notice, what did we do? We got to the center line and we curled up into positive territory. So if I think Tesla is going to remain bullish for a long period of time, continuing into maybe even 2025, well, I can even pay attention to the 2 hour for now and say, hey, if that 2 hour drops, well, if it's able to curl up into positive territory again, then technically this trend is not over. We have not made that lower low. So this might just be another higher low to actually continue to move to the upside. This is where, once again, weekly expected moves will really help you, especially if you're trying to trade something like Tesla. Because Tesla has huge implied volatility every single week, even before all of this positivity. It has always had high implied volatility every single week. So if I know that a level like, I'm just throwing this out there, by the way, if I know that 387 is important and I see the 2 hour get down like this, and I see this happen, and then it curls up off of that level, I know, okay, that is the support. That is going to be a higher low. And the most likely thing is to test the high and then go make a new one. And guess what? If by the end of the week, we make a rocket ship move move like this up to the top side weekly expected move, I know exactly where to take profit. That is why Patreon is so very useful. Tesla looks very, very bullish still. Looks like it needs a 2-hour pullback. Looks like it may need a daily pullback to continue the positivity, but I'm not going to take bets against Tesla. Even if it is making divergences like this on the 30-minute, suggesting to me, hey, this could be an opportunity for Tesla to drop. Well, what if it just moves sideways because it's so bullish? What if it's just a simple 2-hour pullback to go down to these type of levels or go down to a weekly expected move and then it just crosses up? Well, I don't want to take plays that seem very risky right now. Tesla could just continue to rocket ship as this hasn't even confirmed. But if you do confirm that 30-minute divergence, hey, you might get that 2-hour pullback this week for Tesla. Amazon on the 30-minute is a little bit different, right? We notice that there is some steep divergence right here. This is a 3. So this is really adding up to, hey, this could be a level that I want to pay attention. And a lot of these stocks, guys, I'm really going to encourage that because on the Patreon, you get monthly expected moves as well, and you find reversal signals outside of those monthlies, and that's normally where you see things start to pull back once you start to see those signals. And we're seeing that right now from stocks like Amazon, Tesla, Apple, all the ones that I've discussed so far are all outside of monthly expected moves. So that is going to be key. I believe Apple just pulled back into its monthly expected move, but a lot of the huge stocks out there, the Mag 7 stocks, they are moving up way too fast. So a pullback would be a good thing for me to pay attention to, and realizing we are in a very bullish trend can say, hey, if I see a bullish setup over the next couple of weeks, I might want to be open to that opportunity. Now, this is rejecting on the 30-minute and closing below the 5 right now. So this one actually is saying more potential to drop here, right? If I was curled up, if we curl up early on Monday, that can change, right? I want to pay attention to how I can get screwed. Now, the 2-hour is interesting here because you've been kind of pulling back sideways. Could be just consolidating, and we could continue to move sideways until we see that cross back up. But the good part here is you would at least know from a risk standpoint that this isn't the worst thing in the world. All you have is the divergence on the RSI, and you are extremely high up on this MACD. So even if this wanted to crap out for a while, maybe go down to a weekly expected move, and then you see a little 30-minute divergence down there, well, maybe this actually turns to the upside because you don't have the reversal signals that we had in the past where we were saying the daily was going to cross, and it did. The signal that we were saying was going to cross the daily was this one here. We were open to the 30-minute making that move higher, right? We're always paying attention to risk, but we understand that the 2-hour crossed right here, and it said, uh-oh, okay, this is crossing, and it's actually a perfect confirmation right at this level of about 211, right? And we went all the way down to about 196. Okay, so 196, we made 30-minute divergences for this upside move, and we never made that 2-hour divergence again that would really say this is going to turn down, right? We took out the high, so now we're paying attention for those divergences again. You do not have them, so be open to, even if Amazon drops down to a weekly expected move, see if there's reversal signals, because this is still a very bullish trend at this moment. If things start to tumble down a little bit more than that, then hey, we can look at the daily scale and notice that there's no divergence here at all, either on the RSI or MACD. So if that wants to go a little bit deeper, maybe it goes down to retest a breakout area down towards the gap fill at around 213.67 for Amazon. Now, NVIDIA is a troublesome one because this is our bad boy telling us that things are about to get bad. Oh boy. So we're paying attention to it because we did not confirm that daily back up. Well, once again, if this daily is able to curl up right here, that is bullish. This means this is most likely a flag and that can head in the upward direction. We have not taken out this low yet. So very sneaky stuff going on here. But when we look at the weekly scale, this is something we were talking about on Saturday. This is not a signal you like to see. This is what you see when you're about to see something a little bit bigger than a pullback, okay? So I want to pay attention to this and keep that in my mind, because if NVIDIA is showing this, maybe I should be a little bit more cautious for upside in the short term, and I should be patient looking for things to pull back and give me good signals. This is not a good thing. You're seeing dramatic divergence. You're seeing dramatic divergence here on the RSI and MACD at the same time, which just tells us, hey, that monthly actually has a chance to cross over, and you might be in a monthly pullback. Be wary about monthly monthly pullbacks. I'll show you what they look like on a daily. They look a lot like this. Okay, so you don't want to be caught up in that. You don't want to be taking a position at that wrong timing. You want to make sure to be managing your risk. Now, if we go into the shorter time frames, we can easily see how this could get bullish again, right? We see this 2-hour chart. We see how we're trying to make some divergences, maybe even for a double bottom on the 2-hour. So technically, if NVIDIA actually is able to curl up on a 2-hour early on in the week, that would signal that there is some potential for divergence here, and you might actually see this be able to head in the upward direction. Now, since that divergence is here and not necessarily on this MACD, I can pay attention to the 30-minute. If that 30-minute crosses, I can see how the RSI is just heading up and up and up. I can see how this point right here didn't have it on the MACD, but we do right now. So right away, I can pay attention to Monday. I can say, hey, if NVIDIA is going to recover, it's going to confirm this signal and not unconfirm this signal early on in the week. Notice that the 30-minute here is showing dramatic divergence for AMD, and I'm just going to tell you right now with the weekly expected moves, AMD has huge implied volatility for this week, so we'll see if this thing gets some rip rounds, but this is suggesting you're about to see the 2-hour turn up. What does the 2-hour have? The 2-hour has divergence, so what is that suggesting? Well, the 2-hour is actually suggesting, even though I want to mention it is deep into negative territory, so pay attention if this confirms and unconfirms in case it needs to go down for a higher low, or if that move is weak and it ends up needing some kind of double bottom. Those things don't have to form though, right? AMD's are one that has monthly divergence that has confirmed as of 2 months ago. So we were expecting more downside, and now we're seeing some signals pop up that it could see a daily bounce, okay? A daily bounce. The thing about this daily that you want to pay attention to is a lot of people, if this does confirm, they're going to come into my live channel and they're going to say, that's divergence, right? That's divergence. It is, but what grade is it? Well, that would be overall a 1 because you don't necessarily have it on the RSI at the same time. So we want to be paying attention to the fact that AMD, it might be a 2, actually. I'll give it a 2. But AMD, for the most part, has been beat up a lot. It has confirmed monthly signals, but monthly signals mean, hey, you can bounce within those months. So if the daily is going to turn up here, we would look for a positive move, maybe a decent size one, maybe to fill this gap for some kind of retest of our trend line, and then we'll see if we're able to build up over time. But for now, you just see, hey, there's a daily divergence on the MACD, not the RSI. There's a bunch of divergence on the 30-minute and the 2-hour. So positivity could be here for AMD very, very soon. We discussed how Meta was showing some signals, kind of like NVIDIA. Like if these things cross, it technically would say more weakness to come for Meta. So I want to pay attention to the shorter time frames in here and see if this has a good chance to cross down. And we look at the 2-hour and you have a good chance that that's going to cross down. Now, one thing to pay attention to is you're still in positive territory. So anytime this 2-hour curls up, positivity, and we might even get rid of those signals and continue another uptrend if that move is strong. If it's weak and we cross back down, hey, that might be a trap setup there. So be paying attention to that. But you have confirmed divergence here, suggesting that the daily is going to confirm down, and the daily has divergence as well. That's why I'm a little bit more worried about Meta than other stocks. Now, for the 30-minute, we are noticing we are coming down to a lower point, but have we really taken out an area that is very, very important? This is overall our solid low in this overall continuing trend. We see these higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. Have we taken that out yet? No, we have not. We still see higher highs forming, and so if this 30-minute confirms up, we're able to take back the 5. It can be a decent size move. Now, what we need to pay attention to is the fact that the MACD is down in negative territory, so if that reverses back down, this could be in some way, some kind of head and shoulders, but I would more so like this to react down and test this area down in here, and then we can see if some kind of head and shoulders forms as far as a bearish signal. I would just be very aware if the 30-minute confirms up and then ends up turning right back down into negative territory with this positioning of the MACD. All right, now we're going to discuss some AMC and GME stuff, and obviously I just want to get this out of the way. This is bad. This is not what you want to see, the daily going negative. What do we always say? The daily and the 2-hour and the 30-minute all need to be positive in positive territory at the same time. That's when you're going to see the best moves from these stocks. That's when you're going to see the best moves from every stock, by the way. So we're just paying attention to the same things we pay attention to for even something like NVIDIA. We're paying attention to the same things for AMC, and it has helped us out. So what we notice is, one, we have to get above 40 468 to see something huge. Do we have potential to see that? Well, all of our indicators right now are telling us no, except for the 30-minute. So I wanted to talk about this 30-minute signal. You have a very drawn out 30-minute divergence here, and it's on the MACD and it is on the RSI at the same time. It is not the most significant thing on the RSI, but this tends to like to turn up 2-hour charts. So what I want to see is this is a dramatic move down. I'm finally making signals that this could be a strong base. If that can go positive, I can see a good move. If that needs to make a stronger base, we might even dip down one more time to see that really form there. So what I want to be paying attention to here is if this is going to potentially turn up a 2-hour, what does the 2-hour look like? And look how deep that MACD is. So what I really think would be great for AMC to actually turn up the daily, which is ultimately what you need, right? The daily is going to be the hardest one to turn up. You need bullishness for a very extended period of time, which means what? I need a strong base. And with this deep MACD here, we have the opportunity to make a strong base. We could see that 30-minute turn up this 2-hour, see that actually fail, and then see if we're able to make a strong base here and know, hey, that has high potential to turn up a daily chart. So that's what I'm going to be looking for AMC. If we just start to see crazy price action to the upside, well, hey, we got a 30-minute divergence. We're going to need that 2-hour to get into positive territory. We're going to need the daily to get up into positive territory, and the 30-minute needs to get there as well. So if you're wanting to see something crazy, once again, 468 is what you need to get through. Kind of bearish that we broke through 437, but at least you have a little 30-minute signal if you want some hope. Now, if we go into GME, I wanted to really talk about this. What the heck? 30.59. That's all you have to get through to see something crazy. So I'm actually very excited for GME. The daily is suggesting more of a pullback is necessary. We'll see if that continues, but you have really bottled up in this area. Now, this could be a slanted head and shoulders for something bearish to happen, and maybe this gets by the center line, and then we can pay attention to those reversal signals if we make a strong base for GameStop. But very exciting to see that the level that you need to break through to see some kind of squeeze is only 30.59 this week, so very interesting. As we go into the 2-hour, you're noticing that cross down. Where did it cross down? Right by negative territory. So technically, I should be very open to lower prices initially for GME early on in the week if this thing is able to go negative. That is what is very highly probable for GME. We can pay attention to any kind of divergence that is forming down there. Now, the way that this gets bullish right away in the week is if the 30-minute is able to turn up. You need the 30-minute, the 2-hour, and the daily positive. You have the 30-minute negative. You have the daily down in positive territory. You have the 2-hour down in positive territory. So you do not have the recipe for success. But the first way to start that chain reaction is you got to see the 30-minute curl up with a strong move and hold it, curl up the 2-hour, then start to curl up the daily. And guess what? Your level is really, really close. And when everyone's paying attention to this, when implied volatility for GME is really, really high, I do the opposite. I pay attention to when GameStop has very low implied volatility, and this is one of those weeks, so I will be paying very close attention to GameStop, but just note, you need some positivity from each time frame, the 30-minute, the 2-hour, and the daily. The 30-minute is going to be the first one that shows you, hey, this has potential to see a positive move. Can that continue into a 2-hour? Can that continue into a daily? That's what we're looking for, and we have a great level to pay attention to for this week. Volatility has been very interesting. I pointed out the 30-minute divergences. You even came down for another dip. You still held it with a multiple point on the MACD, and you held it the entire time on the RSI. Look how good this looks on the RSI, by the way. Like, look how good that actually looks. You find this low point, you make divergences almost in the directly upward direction. That is crazy to me. So volatility said, hey, I have a good chance, a really, really good chance with these signals to curl up a 2-hour. That's exactly what ended up happening. Now, I want you to notice that this is still positive in positive territory if this confirms down. Just so you know, before we see some kind of crash moment, everyone, says I'm bearish all the time, even though I took a bullish trade last week. I don't get it because I keep saying, I think we're going to get down to 12.12 eventually. I just think we're going to go through a hiccup moment here where we need things to pull back or continue to pull sideways like the SPY is doing. This is suggested, and it did confirm that we are positive right now on this 2-hour, and we could see that continue in the upward direction. If that confirms right back down, we should expect more bullishness, all right? We should expect more bullishness here for volatility if this 2-hour confirms back down. That is very, very obvious to us. But if this reversal signal had anything to say, I would really think that move would be stronger than this one to at least go test something like our line at 1504. That is where we see some resistance for volatility come in when we do get to these lower levels. But ultimately, guys, keep the big picture in mind. If we are going to go through that moment where we go like this, or maybe it's short-lived and we create a 2-hour divergence, that might be all the pullback we're going to get before we're actually going to see more bullishness. Ultimately, I think we are going to end up back towards 1212, and we're going to behave a lot like the past before something bad happens. I think we're heading into a period where you could see this, and notice this happened, it started to reach 1212 in May. It took all the way until July for that to actually see that big pop in volatility. So we could expect this to leak out for a few months here, and that's what I want to be paying attention to. The signal that I'm looking for the actual potential crash moment is when we make those divergences on the SPY in the opposite direction of volatility, and we see something a little bit like this, where we make those divergences, something like this right over here is what I'm looking for. And then I think we might have a great, well, not might, then I think we do have higher probability to see something a little crazier in the market, being a correction, if not a stock market crash with those weekly signals from Saturday. Main takeaway, if we're really just going to pay attention to it, is does this little bullish signal have anything to say? Are we about to see the SPY climb up to higher levels? What is going to happen throughout this week? And I think it's very important to react and take the bigger picture into consideration, and then think, okay, why don't I just sit back, relax, let everyone go crazy over stuff, and maybe just wait for a daily pullback, because this thing is extremely bullish and is highly likely to continue into at least January of 2025. So that's what I'd really be paying attention to. Hopefully you found something helpful in this video. Remember, the Patreon is down there in the links in the description if you want those weekly expected moves. I am posting them right now. So thank you guys so much for watching. Really do appreciate it. I look forward to streaming with you guys. I'll be looking at some stocks. Make sure to come to the live video if you have any questions, or if you just want me to if you want to pop in and ask about a stock, I'm more than happy to look at that for you. So thank you guys so much. Have a great Sunday, and I hope you guys are doing well. Have that family. Have really reloaded yourself by hanging out with some friends of yours, eating some good food, watching some football, and then you're ready for this week to open, because it's probably going to get crazy once 2025 ensues. Peace out.